know, I hate the fact that all the V8s are going away, so I got to root for one of the last remaining ones that's normally aspirated, right? That's not either supercharged or twin turbocharged. Hey Paul, here's a question. Is the Lexus RCF hot or not?
Oh, I certainly like to think so, Roman. I mean, it's got the big V8 engine, everything else gone turbocharged, and here we've got all this horsepower and a nice naturally aspirated V8.
So in this video, we're gonna take that car behind us, we're gonna lap it around the track. Well, you are. We're gonna find out how fast it is from 0 to 60, but first...
Let me guess, big burnout?
Hell yeah, go at it!
All right.
Is a burnout. Oh, you just made my day, dude. That is a burnout. That is how you lay 11. You're about halfway down the track.
I waited until he got behind me with the camera. I'm like, I'm gone.
Yeah, that was excellent. Good work.
Cool.
All right, here are three numbers for you. 467 horsepower, 389 pound-foot of torque out of naturally aspirated 5-liter V8. That sounds, oh my gosh, like God laughing himself. It is all paired to the rear wheels with an 8-speed automatic, that's right, it's got a torque converter, transmission, and it's got a trick race car active rear differential that apparently helps the car go around turns, but I'm going to leave that to Paul. What I like about it is these purple, yep, I'm going to go with purple air intake runners, and just like Paul said, I think purple does help with heat dissipation. Yes, I know all you Lexus aficionados are going to say that the official F color is blue, but I'll be darned if that does not just cross the line into purple.
So when you've got 467 horsepower out of a naturally aspirated V8 and it's in a 3,900 pound car, you're going to need some monster brakes to woe the thing down if you're going to be driving it the way it needs to be driven. And so we've got some 15-inch diameter rotors with some massive 6-piston orange calipers, and I'm sure that orange helps with heat dissipation, maybe? And tying it all together, providing the grip to the road, of course, we got Michelin Pilot Super Sports, and this is a staggered setup on 19-inch wheels. We got a 255 in the front and a much bigger, again for all that horsepower, 275 in the rear. Traction, everything turned off. Let's see if I can get this thing to launch. Ooh, nice downshifts. Wow. 0 to 60, 5.81 seconds. I think it's supposed to do a 4.4. And again, remind you guys, we're at altitude. Left the car in drive, left with a little tiny bit of tire slip, which is okay, and 5.81.
Paul, this Lexus RCF, unlike the 350, has a lot of go fast bits, right? So it's got carbon fiber everywhere, a roof to lighten it up. It's got obviously a lot of horsepower. It's got big brakes, but probably the coolest thing it has is a TVD, torque vectoring differential.
Yeah.
How does that work when you're out on the racetrack?
Well, they're really cool because unlike a normal limited slip differential, first of all, you have a car with an open differential that just spins the inside tire every time you go around a corner, right? So then you have a limited slip that kind of does some version of locking of those wheels together, and you can have them lock differently on deceleration versus acceleration, you know, one way, 1.5 way, 2 way, all that kind of stuff, by changing ramps and all that. And that's just a mechanical single differential, but torque vectoring differential is actually technically 2 differentials, one for each axle. So they have the ability to not just lock, and if you think a lock just gives you 50-50 on each side, because it's 2 differentials, a torque vectoring system can actually send 100% to one side or the other, or any proportion of that in between, depending on how aggressively it's set up. So true torque vectoring, there's a lot of electronic fake torque vectoring that goes on just by breaking the inside wheel. So lots of manufacturers do that. Everyone claims to do that. But there are probably like maybe 6 or 8 actual real double rear differential torque vectoring units, and this car has one of them.
Can you feel it when you're on the track? Can you
Absolutely.
feel the back end? Yeah.
Yeah, and the difference it makes is when you put the power down, because it's able just not to just lock, but to go more than 50% to the outside, you actually get a measure of steering from the rear of the car where it's driving you around the corner. And as opposed to like just spinning the tires and making the car slide, it'll actually help you turn the car. So it makes the car more efficient around the turns.
All right, so you ski, right?
I do.
I'm going to use an analogy from skiing, right? When you're carving corners, right, you put the outside ski on edge, and that kind of brings you around.
Yeah.
As opposed to other cars where you would actually like drag the inside ski to help the outside ski come around.
It's like, you know, steering a toboggan or a canoe. It's the same sort of way. A torque vectoring unit, you can steer that toboggan by braking on the inside, or by, you know, going faster on the outside. And so a torque vectoring unit actually accelerates you to turn rather than decelerating you to turn. And if you're trying to go fast, that sounds faster.
It does sound faster.
Yeah. One other thing this car does, that 8-speed automatic, you might think an 8-speed automatic's not very cool. You're like, what about a dual clutch, or obviously a real manual? But this actually does amazing downshifts. I want to point that out. They sound really cool. It does a beautiful blip on every single downshift. And so for an automatic, again, this whole car, they really did a good job of not just slapping some F badges on it, but there's, like you said, there's tons of cool bits in this car.
And they did a good job of slapping F badges on it too.
Yeah, they didn't just do that.
Report suspicious activities and call 911 for immediate response.
All right, here we are, and wow, this thing is cool. It's heavy though, but Michelin Pilot Super Sports, 467 horsepower, so lots of grip. Torque vectoring differential set on track mode, stability, traction control, everything turned off. Track mode on the diff. A little bit of understeer, a little bit of oversteer. It's just like an old school hot rod. Not many cars like this anymore, so you got to enjoy it while you can. No turbos, just a big naturally aspirated V8 engine and a bunch of power. Again, hurt a little bit by the altitude, more so than a turbo car would. But it really just screams. Sounds great. Pretty fun stuff. A little heavier than she should be. Maybe a little bit higher CG. You can kind of feel the cars up on its toes a little bit. But fun to drive. Lots of grip, well dampened, decent balance. Good stuff.
All right, dude. This should have all the goodies to go fast. So you've got big brakes, sticky tires,
Big V8 motor.
big V8, and kind of a cool torque vectoring diff.
Yeah.
So does that all work?
Yeah, it all works pretty well. You can feel the mass of the car. I think it's about 3,900 pound car, so it's fairly heavy. But that's actually, these days, cars kind of weigh that much, unfortunately.
Yeah, you have a load of airbags in here.
Yeah, and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, I mean, it's fun because it's sort of like, you get this big naturally aspirated V8 and with some sticky Michelin tires on it, and a pretty cool car to drive around the track.
So what do you think your time was?
To me, it feels like it's like a 105 or 6 car, right around there.
104.88.
That's good,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. For really what is, I think, more of a GT than a racetrack car like an M4. I'm impressed by that time.
Yeah, that's a solid lap time.
Yeah, and it sounds good, dude.
It sounds great in here too, even with a helmet on. It sounds good.
It sounds really good from the outside. I hate the fact that all the V8s are going away, so I got to root for one of the last remaining ones that's normally aspirated, right? That's not either supercharged or twin turbocharged.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's just something, you miss that instant throttle response. And going around the course, there was about half the shifting I would have in a typical car because it just has so much torque everywhere. So it really, you just got to focus on driving the car and enjoying that just big power band that V8 gives you.
All right, Paul, I started this video by asking, is the RCF hot or not? What is your call?
Definitely hot to me. And as I said in the beginning, I think what I love about this car, it may not be the quickest car in its class, but it's still like that old school, big V8, fairly high revving, sounds amazing, really fun to drive, loads of grip, great car.
And it's sexy as hell yeah, it's hot. As always, this is Roman.
And this is Paul.
Saying thanks for watching. And remember, check out other episodes of Hot or Not by clicking on the link below. See you guys next time. Ciao.